Welcome to the channel. Thanks for joining me this evening. We've got some breaking news in relation to Manchester United. It looks like United have had 19 new COVID cases reported, leaving the Brighton game on Saturday in doubt. The scale of the outbreak has worsened considerably, and it obviously puts the Brighton game in doubt. United are due to host Graham Potter's men on Saturday, and I've already seen, obviously, the game against Brentford called off yesterday. United were forced to shut down the training ground yesterday, and the Premier League ultimately postponed the game. And the training ground shutdown was only for 24 hours on Monday in a bid to limit the spread. But then the base was reopened for first-team players and staff on Wednesday, basically for those players who were available to take part in the training session. But it appears the outbreak is worse than first thought. And according to the Telegraph, United have seen 19 members of the first team playing and coaching group test positive for COVID-19. They're all currently self-isolated, though it is stated that not all the cases are related to the immediate first team personnel. Amid the large-scale outbreak, United have entered into talks with league officials over the status of their squad. United haven't commented on this so far, but it looks like they will have a severely depleted squad. The Premier League did grant a postponement for the Brentford match. Tottenham and Leicester's request for a delay to their clash on Thursday has been denied, though, which seems a bit strange. Each request is being treated on a case-by-case basis. But with United having one of the largest squads, it remains to be seen if the latest request will be granted. Amid the outbreak, a full squad is not available to train on Wednesday, with players tested in their cars as they arrived. The Premier League may also take into account the state of Brighton's squad when making decisions about the game. Brighton have also had COVID-19 cases, and they were due on Wednesday to face Wolves. Graham Potter did say that we're around 3 or 4, and that's something we have to deal with. We are just checking to make sure it's that number. We're trying to monitor and make sure that we're not playing games with guys who have COVID. So it's a real minefield for the club and a real minefield for Manchester United and for the other teams. So obviously you now have a situation where the game's probably going to be cancelled, because if 19 more positive tests have been reported on top of what they already had previously, then you'd imagine the game on Saturday is going to be cancelled. And actually, the Premier League could be a bit more helpful if they cancel those games a little bit earlier than kind of less than 24 hours. Because obviously people from Brighton would have to travel to Manchester. They might have booked hotels. And Man United's fan base travels from far and wide: Wales, Scotland, London, Midlands, everywhere, Ireland. So it would help if the Premier League could give some confirmation ASAP. And obviously, if you've tested COVID today, then you're not going to be available for selection, so they can rule out who won't be available. So it'll be interesting to see what proportion of those staff members are actually players and what proportion are sort of like peripheral staff. So if it's like maybe canteen staff, then I don't think that's a big issue. If of the 19, it's 15 canteen staff and cleaners and maintenance people and physiotherapists, then I think that the Premier League won't cancel the game. So it'd be interesting to see what proportion of that 19 are the first team squad. I think if it's anywhere near 5 to 7 to 8, the match is going to get cancelled. Excuse me, please. And I think that United have got a bigger squad. United have probably got the biggest squad in the Premier League. Maybe Chelsea have got a lot of players out on loan and a big squad. But United have got about 30 players, give or take. So they can put out a team of internationals. But, it doesn't, I don't know what this case-by-case basis means, and whether, the case-by-case relates to Brighton as well, or whether they're looking to somehow gauge, because if it's like, I mean, I'm not being disparaging at this point, but if, for example, Lee Grant has got COVID-19, he's not played for United, he's the fourth choice goalkeeper, it doesn't really affect United's plans. If Phil Jones, no disrespect to Phil Jones, has COVID-19, there's no chance he's going to play anyway. So I don't know how they're going to analyze this, and I don't know what United want to do, because actually these fixtures are going to pile up, and you're really potentially creating a major backlog. And I know that it's not the Premier League's fault, it's not Man United's fault. This is a pandemic. This is something which is an act of God, essentially. But we really need they need to really act quickly, in my view. So it's going to be interesting to see who's actually got the virus. And I mean, you've seen a few players, like I know that Henderson had it, and it took him a few weeks to come back. Pogba's had it, and long COVID is something which for top level athletes could be an issue, because if you're thinking about, you have COVID and you're going to come back next week, you may not be able to. You may have respiratory issues, and these respiratory issues for you and I will be maybe mild or severe, depending. But if you're a top level athlete and it knocks 20% off your lung capacity, it's a serious business. But anyway, let's have a look at some of the chat. If you got anything to say, please pop it in the chat box. No Name, how you doing, mate? Can there be a future for football with COVID? Well, yeah, there's obviously going to be a future for football. Football will never die. It's the greatest game in the world. But I actually think that some clubs, their revenues are going to be deeply affected. And I think you're really going to see it, No Name, with the transfer market. I think the transfer market in January and in the summer, some of the fees that we had maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago, those fees that were just going up and up and up, I don't think you're going to see that. I think even massive clubs like Barcelona, Real Madrid, huge clubs are going to struggle to actually fund huge transfers. And I think you'll see quite a lot of free transfers. You might see some loans, and you'll see some swap deals. And, so yeah, it's going to be interesting. Rasmus, how you doing, bro? Are you okay, mate? Do you know when Phil Jones' contract ends? Phil Jones, I think it's 2023. If memory serves me right, someone with very little sense at Manchester United gave a 4.5-year deal to someone that hadn't played. The last time he played was obviously Tranmere, so I think his contract's up 2023. And God knows why they've signed him. I mean, to be fair, injury, yeah, man, it is crazy, Rasmus. It definitely is crazy. But like, injuries have obviously cost him. And, Sir Alex Ferguson did say that, he was potentially the greatest player of all time. And bear in mind, Manchester United had quite a lot of great players. So I don't know if Sir Alex had quite a lot of whiskey that day or red wine. But yeah, he maintains that Phil Jones could have been one of the best player Man United ever had. So yeah, the rumor also, Rasmus, is that Phil Jones has impressed Ranić in training, and a lot of the players have started with a clean slate. And this feeds into another point. United, I know we've not played that well, but we've had 2 clean sheets in the league, and we might have been able to get some momentum going. And this really breaks up the momentum. But it's going to be interesting to see. No Name saying, thanks, man. Keep us updated on Saturday's game. Yeah, I mean, I've got a ticket. I mean, I'm not traveling far, but I think it's a real logistical nightmare for people traveling to the game from Ireland or wherever, from Scotland, Wales. And I think it's a real nightmare. Selena Gomez, Carl's Colico. Hey, how you doing, Selena? Hope you're okay. But as it stands, the game will go ahead, right? Yeah, at this moment, Selena, the game will go ahead. But this 19 are additional. And if I was gonna make a prediction, Selena, I'd say that the game's going to be postponed. That is my prediction. And also, as I said, as the media have reported, Brighton have also got a COVID outbreak, which may get worse and worse. So Brighton have a much smaller squad than Manchester United. So they also need to be able to field a team. And the Premier League may just come to the conclusion that the game doesn't go ahead. And actually, it wouldn't surprise me if Man United's lawyers had been onto the Premier League, because bear in mind, these aren't just football matches. For us football fans, it's about winning and excitement. But for the clubs, it's about money. If you finish 7th in the league or 5th in the league, that's a lot of money, TV money and prize money and stuff like that. If you finish 1 point out of the Champions League places, probably worth £100 million to Man United. So if you were to play the Brentford match and this match and lose them, then I'm sure that Man United's lawyers would say, listen, we're going to sue you. So I think that in the Premier League charter, there will be something about being able to field players. And obviously, COVID's unprecedented. So, yeah, I think that the game is at this moment going to go ahead, but I think it's going to be cancelled. Rasmus, man, it would be pretty fun to see him one more time. The Last Dance. The Last Dance, yeah. Well, actually, Jones is due a testimonial, because if you're at United for 10 years, then you should get a testimonial. But he famously said that he thinks that only his wife and his mum and dad would turn up. But yeah, the last home match I went to, which was the Crystal Palace game, when he was warming up, the Stretford end did chant Jones's name. So he has become somewhat of a meme, and it's a little bit unfortunate. And I think he is quoted as saying that it has affected his mental health. And you can get paid hundreds of thousands of pounds a week, but you still, his family, his kids, I think he's got teenage kids, his wife have been deeply affected, because actually he's an England international. He wasn't a bad player. He's just been injured, and it can happen. It happened to some great players at United historically. Like if you cast your mind back to Norman Whiteside, still holds the record for the youngest the player to appear at a World Cup finals. I think he's still the youngest. He was like 17. And according to Sir Alex in his book, Norman Whiteside could have been one of the greatest players of all time, but he got injured. So injuries can do this to players. And I feel like Phil Jones maybe comes into that category, because if you remember, when he was at Blackburn, every single club in England wanted him. Like Chelsea tried to buy him. Everybody wanted him. And United got him, and it was seen as a bit of a coup. But it's just one of those things, players can get affected by injuries, and it's a real shame when it happens. And sometimes with the modern medicine, players can come back. But when you've got like ligament damage and things with your knee and your hip and things which inhibit movement, then it's a real shame, really. It is really, really a shame. And I think that, he should really leave. I think maybe in January. The rumor is that Ranić is potentially looking at clearing out quite a lot of players. And United's contract situation or lack of planning in relation to contracts shows that. So if you look, you got Pogba, you got Lingard, who both, as of January the 1st, can start to negotiate with foreign clubs. You've also got players like Mata, Jones, Matic, who essentially aren't playing. And you've also got quite a lot of, like a very big squad of players that aren't really getting minutes on the pitch. And you also need to look at the situation with Dean Henderson. You've got 4 goalkeepers, I think. You've also got Kovar. He basically, could potentially come into the equation. So it's one of those things. So Selena says, Ronaldo must be fuming at this point because he's a top player and he doesn't deserve to miss games. Yeah, well, Ronaldo, unfortunately, it's just one of those things. It's just COVID. It is what it is. But I think that Ronaldo's going to do well once the games are starting to be played again. Ronaldo's going to fire. There's been an awful lot of criticism of Ronaldo And Ronaldo's not the problem at Manchester United. It's the midfield. Ronaldo's goal record, his contribution. We wouldn't have qualified for the second phase of the Champions League without Ronaldo. United need to sort the defense out and just feed Ronaldo chances. The guy's the best ever. I'm not just saying it because I support United. Like, Ronaldo's the best player of all time, better than Pele, better than Maradona. He's better than everyone. He scored 800 goals. 800 goals, right? It's just unbelievable. He's basically, for 20 years, averaged 40 goals a game. Most players never score 40 goals. And he's not like he's played in like Greece or played in like the Middle East or whatever. He's played in Spain, Portugal for a short time, England, and Italy. Basically the three hardest leagues, probably, or Spain and England, the hardest leagues, and Italy as well, against defenders that defend. And Ronaldo's the greatest player of all time. And I still think the season isn't over yet. The season isn't over yet. And if you've got Ronaldo, he doesn't like Atletico Madrid. If you remember when he was playing for Juventus, Simeone did the famous kahunas to him, like, yeah, I've got kahunas, because they beat Juventus 2-0 at Atletico. And then they went to Juve, hat-trick by Ronaldo, 3-2. Like, Ronaldo wants 1,000 goals, so he's got 200 more goals to go, and he wants the Champions League with United. The league's probably gone, 12 points. You need City, Chelsea, Liverpool to falter. They're not going to, but in a cup competition, anything can happen. Anything can happen. No Name says, fans, football, no fans. Could this be possible? I actually think it's coming. The Omicron variant, I'm not a scientist, so I'm not going to like pontificate about science, but the Omicron variant in the UK is spreading, and it's going to overtake the Delta variant in a day or two. And it looks like it's more transmissible. And I think that the government after Christmas will shut down the UK. And I think football, concerts, events where people meet, the government are going to say, no, we're going to basically, not allow large gatherings of people. So we may be back into that situation, the first lockdown, where we don't have fans in stadiums. And to be honest, it takes a lot away from it. It really does. It really takes a lot away from it. And there's not much that can be done at this point. It is what it is. It's the COVID variant. And, and this situation may actually continue. So, yeah, No Name says, Selena, yeah, quick recovery. Come on, Reds. Yes, come on, Reds. I still believe, Selena, I still believe that United can do something. I've just got this feeling. Varane's been injured. If Varane comes back and Ronaldo, I just think, I don't know. We've got Atletico. If we can beat them, we're in the quarterfinals of the European Cup. Rangnick's a wily coach. I just have this feeling. I just think good things happen with Ronaldo. I think Sancho is going to be a good player in the second half of the season. We've got a lot of good players. There's hope still. And if you can tighten that defense up, then United can go on a winning spree. Because really, we've had not just a COVID hangover, we've had a massive hangover from the Euros. People like Maguire, Shaw, McTominay, their form has fallen off a cliff. And in some way, we need to just start to just win, clean sheet, win. But we'll have to see. Yeah, as I say, like I'm 95% certain that this match on Saturday is going to be cancelled. And then I think that's our last game before Christmas. And then the next one's the 26th, if I'm not mistaken. So basically, you've got a situation where you need to play those games at some point, and you may have a bit of a fixture pile up. So 18th. So then it's Newcastle on the 27th of December, Burnley on the 30th of December. Now, as I've said, you don't just have a bout of COVID and then come back next week. It can really affect your respiratory, functionality, shall we say. And I don't imagine that these players that United have who have COVID are going to just come back next week against Burnley or against Newcastle. So The question is, the 19 that have tested positive, how many are first teamers? How many of them are first teamers? United have essentially got 16, 17 first team players that play all the time. Fred, he plays all the time. Rashford, if fit, plays all the time. So they've got about 17 of them. If those are the ones that are impacted, then, we may have some trouble. We may have some trouble. And I think the Premier League are probably really feeling uncomfortable at this point, because I think that they don't know what to do. And ultimately, it's one of those things. But the Champions League, Selena's saying that Simeone versus CR7 is back. Yeah, it is back. I think that it's going to be an interesting match, because Atletico Madrid are actually probably Man United's kryptonite. They're really well organized defensively, and they really are a very difficult team to play against. And they may play a low block, but I think that Ronaldo has something personal with them, and we may have a situation where Ronaldo is rather hyped up for that match, and he looks to enact revenge of all the abuse that the Atletico Madrid fans have given him. But yeah, we're going to have to see what's going to happen at this point. It's going to be interesting. But yeah, as I say, I think that the game on Saturday is going to be cancelled. It's not officially been confirmed. I hope it's not. I've got a ticket. I'd love to go. But Boris Johnson has just given a news conference on UK TV, and it looks like they're preparing the population for, don't visit shops, stuff like that. I mean, I read yesterday that the footfall to shops is 30% lower in the last week. So obviously it's Christmas, the shops should be really busy. 30% lower shows that people are conscious about going into public spaces. And although people are getting the booster and have had the jabs, people are still conscious. And I feel like we're just heading in that direction. But in terms of Manchester United and Brighton, let's not forget, they need to be able to put out a team. And I feel like that's something that they're maybe not going to be able to do. And also, if the training grounds reopened and now they've tested, it's highly likely that tomorrow they'll close the training ground again. If they close the training ground again on Thursday for a Saturday game, then they can't really prepare for the game anyway. So watch the media tomorrow morning to see whether Carrington gets shut down again. And actually, I'd probably guess that it will shut down, because something has come through the bubble. One person's got it. And this is part of the issue, right? That Omicron is way, way, way more transmissible. It's way, way, way more transmissible. So that really means that you can probably, it's probably really hard to not get it. Many people have probably had it. I've had a bit of a cold the past week, felt a bit sniffly. I've probably got it. I've probably had it, and it's probably gone. I felt a bit a bit tired or whatever. So and so this is it, this is it. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up there. If you've not liked the video already, please like the video. If you want to share the video, please feel free to share it on your social media platforms. If you've not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. We do daily transfer speculation updates. So we look through the British tabloids and we give you some of the crazy rumors and some of the not so crazy rumors in relation to football transfers. And with January coming up, we'll have to see how many of them come true. We also are covering Man United, doing some live vlogs for Manchester United games. And we're going to bring back the podcast with myself and some other United fans. And we're also looking at other news in relation to football. So if you've not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate it. So Selena's got a comment. And if the game is postponed, say it earlier, because for the Brentford game, they announced it while I was asleep. Yeah, exactly. It was very late in the day with the Brentford game, wasn't it? It was I think it was less than 24 hours. And actually, on social media, quite a few people had booked hotels and traveled down, and cancelled work arrangements. So the Premier League really need to give it a little bit more time, because people's plans are changing. So hopefully they'll announce. I mean, hopefully the game goes ahead. I mean, nobody wants the game to be cancelled. I'd love to go and watch the match, but it is what it is. But yeah, anyway, it is what it is. So anyway, thanks everyone. Rasmus, cheers, man. Always a pleasure, mate. Selena, thanks a lot for your comments. Please subscribe. No Name, thanks a lot for your comments as well. Appreciate you all watching. Appreciate the likes, and have a lovely evening. Stay safe and be careful. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care. Bye.